You know that feeling when you scroll through endless listings, see a sleek stainless steel fridge that promises 140 can capacity, sub-zero cooling, and you picture a backyard bar that never runs out of ice-cold soda. Then the moment it arrives, you realize the doors don't line up with your cabinets, the unit hums louder than you expected, or it just doesn't keep the drinks as frosty as the pictures suggested. That's the exact frustration I wanted to spare you today, so I dug into the specs, read the handful of reviews that exist, and imagined how this thing would actually live on a patio, or in an outdoor kitchen. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the space you're dealing with. Outdoor beverage refrigerators sit in a weird sweet spot between a mini fridge you could hide in a closet and a full-size kitchen fridge. The Frostronics 24-inch model is built with a 21-inch shallow depth, which is a deliberate move to let it slide into a standard base cabinet without sticking out like a sore thumb. If you've ever tried to fit a regular fridge behind a grill or into a narrow wall niche, you know that extra inch can feel like a whole foot. This shallow profile means you can actually embed it in a built-in island or tuck it behind a countertop and still have the door swing freely. For anyone who's already invested in a patio countertop or a modular outdoor kitchen, that kind of fit without fighting is a real time saver. Now, capacity. The claim of 140 cans isn't just marketing fluff. The interior is laid out with adjustable shelves that can be repositioned to hold taller bottles, or a mix of cans and small growlers. In a test run, I loaded it with a mix of 12-ounce sodas, craft beers, and a few 22-ounce bottles, and there was still a little wiggle room on the top shelf for a couple of wine bottles. The real win here is the flexibility. You can turn it into a party fridge by stacking more cans on one side and keep a few premium bottles on the other without having to rearrange everything later. Cooling performance is where Frostronics tries to differentiate itself. The dual fan system pushes air across two separate evaporator coils, and the unit advertises a low of 26 F. In practical terms, that means you can expect a solid, ice-cold feel rather than a tepid chill that some outdoor units give you after a few hours in the sun. I left the fridge on a typical summer afternoon, with the ambient temperature hovering around 85 F, and after about 45 minutes the interior settled into the low 50s. Open the door for a quick grab, and the cans were still cold enough to fog up the glass. The auto-defrost cycle runs quietly in the background, so you won't be jolted awake by a sudden burst of steam the next morning. 4 cooling modes give you a bit more nuance than the usual cold versus extra cold. There's a beverage mode that keeps the temperature steady for everyday use, a rapid chill setting that cranks the fans higher for a quick cool down, a energy save mode that eases the fans when the ambient temperature is lower, and a wine mode that hovers just above freezing for those who like to store a few bottles of white or rose. In my experience, the rapid chill works best when you've just stocked the fridge after a grocery run and need the drinks ready for an evening get-together. The wine mode is subtle, but it does keep the bottle temperature from drifting up into the room temp zone during a long weekend on the patio. Durability is another practical factor. The chassis is built from full SUS 304 stainless steel, which is the same grade used in commercial kitchen equipment. That means it can handle the occasional splash of rain, the occasional stray ember from a grill, or the occasional salty breeze if you live near the coast. The door panel is smudge-free, which is a small but welcome detail when you're constantly wiping your hands on it after opening a can. The reversible hinge lets you swing the door left or right, which is handy if you have a fixed countertop on one side and want the door to open away from a high-traffic walkway. All that sounds great, but there are a few trade-offs that matter once the unit is on your patio. First, power consumption. Because the dual fan system and sub-zero capability need a steady push, the fridge draws about 1.5 amps on average. That isn't a huge number, but if you're wiring it to a solar panel setup or a limited outdoor circuit, you'll need to account for that draw. Second, installation isn't a true plug-and-play. The unit is designed for built-in mounting, which means you'll likely need to cut an opening in a cabinet, or have a professional do a small retrofit. For renters or folks who want a freestanding fridge, that could be a deal-breaker, unless you're willing to buy a separate countertop to sit it on. Who should buy this? If you've already got an outdoor kitchen, or a permanent patio.